Welcome back to the Wrestling Group. I am your host, as always, Ryan, and today we are going to be doing another top 5 rankings video. Today we are going to be ranking Matt Cardona's best matches since leaving the WWE, and trust me, there's a lot of them. Cardona, since leaving the WWE, has changed the world of professional wrestling on the indie scene. Alongside his best friend Brian Myers and good friend Mark Sterling, they have changed the world of podcasts with the Major Wrestling Figure podcast too. Personally, I was never a fan of Zack Ryder in the WWE until the last part of his run, where he and Myers teamed up once again and won the tag team gold. Upon his release from the WWE and no longer held back, Cardona has been able to show just how good he is and become, for me, must see in everything he does and every company he works for. Like beforehand, I'd never watched GCW, but now I watch most events. Cardona for me easily sits in my top 5 favourites in the world right now, and I was lucky enough to meet Cardona and watch him wrestle live for TNT in Liverpool. Alongside Myers and Mark, Cardona has changed me as a fan of wrestling too, with the Toy Hunt videos getting me into collecting wrestler figures, and with their YouTube channel inspiring me to create my own. So without them, this channel wouldn't even exist right now. So thanks guys. When I decided to do this video for Matt Cardona's top 5 matches after leaving the WWE, I was surprised to find out through a little search on Google that this hasn't been done already. I could be wrong though. So sit back and enjoy as I go through the list, and as always feel free to leave your 5 in the comment section below. So as always, we'll start from number 5 and work our way down to number 1, determining what is the best match of Matt Cardona's run since leaving the WWE. Number 5 versus Brian Myers at Rebellion 2021. When both guys were released, fans expected to see them reform as a tag team, but Myers signed to Impact Wrestling and Cardona appeared in AEW, so it seemed like their in-ring careers were headed in separate solo directions. Cardona's AEW run was only short, and he soon also found himself in Impact Wrestling. Myers was distant towards his former tag team partner, and before long revealed he was annoyed that his best friend had followed him to Impact, and even took shots at Cardona and his short AEW run. Things got heated between the pair when Matt Cardona was the special referee for Brian Myers versus Eddie Edwards. Myers was a heel and Cardona was more of a face and called the match down the middle. At the end of the match, Myers hit a roaster cut, but Cardona called for the bell after he spotted Myers slip something into his arm pad before hitting the move. Myers was upset that Cardona screwed him, and Cardona eventually challenged Myers to a match at the Rebellion pay-per-view, with Myers seemingly reluctant to accept. During Matt Cardona versus Jake something on Impact, Brian Myers ambushed both guys and laid out Cardona on the entrance ramp before accepting the pay-per-view match. Both guys done well to sell the story to build to the match, and it continued during the match as well, with Cardona wanting to start the match with a handshake but instead gets a middle finger. Cardona took control in the early stages and went for a reboot, but Myers slipped out the ring and Cardona was still able to hit the reboot through the ropes and followed it up with a radio silence on the ramp. Myers started to come back into the match and hit a spear on Cardona outside the ring. At the finish of the match, Matt leapfrogged Brian but came down awkwardly, re-injuring his knee. The referee and officials checked on Cardona, and Myers offered Cardona a hand up, seeming concerned for his former friend. He pulled him up, but instead hit him with a clothesline before hitting his finish for the victory. A great story and a great match that made Myers look like a top heel. Number 4 versus Moose and versus W. Morrissey Impact World Title match, Hard to Kill 2022. Moose and W. Morrissey had started teaming in Impact at this time with an alliance, but refused to be known as a quote-unquote tag team, leaving fans to believe that a term was going to come soon. Sure enough, it did. On an episode of Impact leading up to the pay-per-view, Cardona and Moose opened the show exchanging words that led to a brawl. Later that night, Moose and Morrissey teamed together to face Cardona and Edwards, with Cardona picking up the victory for his team, pinning Moose. Morrissey then turned on his partner, hitting him with a big boot as Impact went off the air. And the match was set. The next week, Cardona and Morrissey got into it, with a match announced for later that night between the two, and Cardona's spot in the triple threat match at the pay-per-view on the line. The match was bloody, with Morrissey busting Cardona open in the early stages. The result was Cardona wins via DQ and remains in the match. Afterwards, Moose came down and all three got into a brawl, with Cardona standing tall at the end with the Impact title held high. The week before the pay-per-view, the contract signing, Morrissey just signed and left. Cardona and Moose got into it once again, with Cardona going through a table before he accidentally hit his real-life partner, Chelsea Green, with a chair, and Moose got out of the way. Another great build-up to another great match in Impact Wrestling. All three guys look like main eventers here. A good solid trade-off starts between the three of them and even spills to the outside and up the entrance ramp at 1.2. During the match, Moose ends up going through a table, Morrissey nails Cardona with a prosthetic leg, and the ref eats a spear. With the ref down, Morrissey brings chairs into play. Moose low blows Morrissey, then hits him with a chair. Cardona then hits both guys with chair shots. Chelsea Green gets involved, but Cardona makes the save as Moose attempts to hit her with the chair, giving a little throwback to when Cardona accidentally hit Chelsea with the chair a couple of weeks previously. Moose then powerbombs Cardona into the corner, taking out Chelsea and a second referee in the process. Moose hits a spear on Cardona. The ref slides back into the ring and counts the pin as Moose retains the championship. Number 3. Versus Will Ospreay, 1PW Devil's Due for the 1PW Heavyweight Championship. Will Ospreay was clearly the fan favourite as he came out to a hero's welcome, and Cardona playing the heel perfectly. As soon as the bell rang, Cardona hid behind the referee. They lock up, but Cardona gets to the outside of the ring to regroup with Steph DeLander. Ospreay dives from the ring onto Cardona on the floor. Ospreay hits a backbreaker and tries for the pin. Ospreay then goes for the handspring back elbow, but Steph manages to grab his wrists, allowing Cardona to take control of the match. Steph then gets involved once again, choking Ospreay in the ropes as the crowd rallies behind Will. Cardona hits a second rope missile dropkick for a near fall, and Cardona hits also a lung blower for another near fall. When Ospreay goes to the top rope, Cardona manages to shove the referee into the ropes, causing Ospreay to fall onto the turnbuckle. Cardona then hits a running boot in the corner, followed up by a Tiger Driver powerbomb for another pin attempt. Ospreay goes for the hidden blade, but is hit with a clothesline. Ospreay then hits a powerbomb followed by an Oz cutter. As Ospreay then goes for the pin, Steph pulls the referee out the ring and lays him out, allowing Cardona then to hit a low blow on Will. Steph enters the ring with the belt, but Birch enters the ring to stop Steph, and Ospreay accidentally hits him with a super kick. Cardona then hits radio silence on Ospreay for a very near fall. Cardona grabs the title, goes to lay out Ospreay, but accidentally connects with Steph instead. A hidden blade later, and Ospreay retains the title. This was a really fun match. Cardona is a great heel, and his partnership with Steph DeLander has been perfect. Ospreay is the best in the world right now, and when this match was announced, I for one was looking forward to it, and it definitely did not disappoint. Number 2. Versus Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship, Collision 2024. Growing up, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers were massive Edge fans and were able to realise the dream when they debuted in WWE as Edgeheads, becoming a trio with the Rated R superstar. Years later in 2023, when asked by a fan on Twitter who would be his dream opponent, he responded Adam Copeland, a statement he would go on to voice on a number of interviews and podcasts. In March of this year, newly crowned TNT champion Adam Copeland opened an episode of Collision, issuing an open challenge, or Cope Open as he calls it. Matt Cardona emerged to accept the challenge, with fans going nuts with a holy shit and this is awesome chant before he'd even entered the ring. This match was made to feel like a big deal, with the commentators doing a great job at speaking about their history together and the fact that this was actually a dream match for Cardona. It was a great back and forth action, with both guys on a number of occasions trying to hit the same moves at the same time, doing a good job of selling the history between the two. The crowd was really into this match, and the wrestling internet was full of people talking about the shocking return, with Cardona trending on Twitter throughout the night. Cardona hit an Impaler DDT for a 2 count, and Copeland hits a buckle bomb and then a sit-down powerbomb for a 2 count of his own. Cardona counters a spear into radio silence for a near fall, with fans on the edge of their seats. Cardona then lined up Adam for a spear, but Cope countered with a spear of his own, managed to gain the victory and to retain his TNT Championship. Absolute perfect first opponent for Copeland. So that's it. That is our 5 down to 2. So we'll run down from 5 back to 2 before going to our number 1. So in at number 5 we have versus Brian Myers at Rebellion 2021. And at number 4 we have versus Moose versus Morrissey for the Impact World title at Hard to Kill 2022. In at number 3 we have versus Will Ospreay, 1PW Devil's Due for the 1PW Heavyweight Championship. And in at number 2 was his match against Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship at Collision 2024. So in at number 1, and the best match of Matt Cardona's run since leaving the WWE, is of course the match against Nick Gage in the death match for the GCW World Championship Homecoming Part 1 2021. The month leading up to this match, Cardona attacked Gage at GCW Zombie Walk Show, appearing under a hood, tricking the crowd to thinking it was Jon Moxley, showing mannerisms similar to the AEW star. Before this encounter, Cardona had spent weeks on social media calling Gage out, and Gage responded by attempting to get his hands on Cardona at a live podcast event. The two entrances alone were completely different, with Cardona mobbed, held back by security, and booed, amongst other things, chanted and shouted at him. Nick Gage was swarmed by his fans, as he is literally seen as a god to the GCW faithful. These guys couldn't be more different in terms of characters, and the commentators repeatedly telling us how Cardona was out of his depth in a GCW ring and against Nick Gage. Cardona took the early advantage, but it wasn't long before Gage took control and tortured Cardona with slams through glass, light tubes smashed on his back and head, and even a pizza cutter dragged across his forehead. Cardona played the part of a guy who had never been in a death match before perfectly, as occasionally he would scream, "What the fuck?" as he was sliced to bits. Gage continued to punish him and leave him in a bloody mess in the ring. Although the end of the match for me wasn't as entertaining as the rest of it, it doesn't take away from just how great this match truly was. And Nick Gage was set to face Chris Jericho in an upcoming match on Dynamite. So at one point, Jericho's Judas theme hit and the crowd went insane, with a hooded guy entering the ring, but was made short work of by Gage before he revealed in fact it wasn't Chris Jericho. Next out was 440, but Gage once again started to fight back against him before they then managed to get him onto the floor and beat on him. Ricky Shane Page came down to assist Gage before hitting him with a low blow, allowing Cardona to nail Gage with a light tubes and pick up the victory and the GCW Championship. The crowd absolutely went nuts. They showed their displeasure in the result and pelted the new champion with bottles and trash. which made for an iconic photograph. The run of Cardona as GCW champion was absolutely epic, taking the title to Disney World and calling it the GCW Universal Championship had him as the #1 villain in the company. And there you have it. That is our top 5 Matt Cardona matches since leaving the WWE. And as always, feel free to leave yours in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And stay tuned for more wrestling related content coming your way very, very soon.